Awesome. All right, guys. Hey, guys, this is Saravanan and Ganesh here. And today I have a good friend of mine who's now become a legend in the SEO industry. I'm really excited. So, welcome, Victoria. Thank you for jumping on. Appreciate that.
Thanks so much, Sarvan. And I don't know about legend, but working at it.
You're upcoming. You're coming up. I see you posting on Facebook, and at least a couple of hundred guys are commenting, like, hey, Victoria, this and that.
Yeah, well, what's one thing with the SEO world is people actually are super, super helpful and super nice and welcoming. So yeah, it helps a lot.
Yep. And then it also helps there's probably 99% guys, males, and less than 1% ladies who know what they're doing in SEO. But go ahead.
That's true. I was going to say, but it's not like a boys club. Guys are actually super helpful. Like I almost feel like they go a little extra mile to try to help you because they understand how this industry is primarily male dominated.
I think they go extra mile, like a brown guy like me asking the same question versus a female like you asking the same question. You see, just kidding. But no, you're right. SEO industry is a lot more helpful than a lot of other industries, I'm sure.
Yeah. I think it gets a bad rap, but that rap is definitely not deserved. I think there is good people in here for sure.
Yep. Yeah, I'm looking forward to pick your brains a little bit, ask you a few questions. But before all that, maybe for those of you who don't know who you are, let's give it a little bit of introduction as to who you are, what do you do now, and then we can jump into like, okay, when you first started, before you started, when you were born. So like, can you give a quick introduction for those who don't know you? Who are you? What do you do? Just something like that.
Okay. Yeah. So I started technically I started in the SEO world in March 2020. I was a travel blogger for a couple of years, and I learned kind of, the big picture of SEO as a travel blogger. And then in March 2020, I found myself out of a job. Didn't have any trips planned at the time. So I was kind of sitting on my couch thinking like, what should I do? And actually I came across your course and I was like, I had followed you for a while, for like a few months. And then I read your PDF file, which was excellent, which still is excellent. And I was like, this guy really is giving away a lot of good information. So the course must be even better. So I kind of just whipped out a credit card and paid for it right there. And yeah.
And then now you have your own successful SEO agency.
Yeah, we do pretty good. In fact, I a couple of weeks ago told all the new clients who wanted to onboard, they have to wait for me for a month and a half because I had to create processes and hire people, and it was just getting overwhelming. So there are actually clients waiting for us right now.
So in 18 months, you went from fairly new to SEO to, can I say, easily multiple six figures revenue agency?
Yes, definitely six figures. Yes.
Awesome. Sure. And you've spoken in a couple of SEO conferences as well.
I spoke at a couple of virtual conferences, not like the big speaking engagements yet, but I've been able to, chat with some really cool people and share some of my experience on getting started.
Awesome. That's the short version. So now let's jump back, right? So let's start from, I don't even know. I know you're from Russia, or were you born in Russia? Let's start there. Where were you born? And let's go from there.
Yeah, so I was born in Russia, but I grew up here in Brooklyn, in New York City. So I came here when I was 12. And so I've been basically in Brooklyn my entire life.
Okay, because I always see posts about something about Russia or the other. I learned more about Russia from you.
Yeah, it's been a minute since I've been there. I haven't been there in more than 25 years. So I hear it's changed.
You grew up in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And then you went to college and graduated and all that.
Yeah, I went to college. I graduated. I did a few other things. I used to model professionally. So that was, and started a couple of small businesses. I was an Amazon seller before it was cool.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Oh yeah, I made a ton of money selling textbooks on Amazon. That was a good gig.
Right. So
why crazy money.
Why did you pursue that? I mean, did the rules change or what?
Just too many people in the industry. And, back when I was doing it, I would go to a garage sale. One time I went in and I would buy like, $500 worth of books. And then I would go up and I would sell it for $50,000.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So you made a good run with Amazon. This was a few years ago. selling books.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then, okay, then let's keep going. So you made good money, but then the space got crowded and you started a couple of other small businesses, you said?
Yeah. I had a couple of kids, got a real job, decided I did not like to have a real job. That was not fun having a boss. And then after my kids were, I think, 3 and 6, I started Brainy Academy, which is a preschool here in Brooklyn, preschool tutoring center. And so that worked in that for a few years until we sold it. It was a small chain, so we sold it.
So you've always been like an entrepreneur, business owner.
I think there's 2 kinds of people, right? There's the kind that can be calm and happy and satisfied with their life. Yeah. And then there's the entrepreneurs.
Yeah, that's so true.
Have a hard time doing anything else.
Exactly. I hate being told what to do by somebody, right?
Terrible. It's a terrible personality trait, really, because it makes you very difficult to be around, right? Yeah. You have to argue about everything.
Yeah. And I think we are the kind of people, we make things happen. I'm not putting down employees or anything, but it's business owners who create new things. That's what I think. So awesome. Okay, so then how did you start your blogging? Because you had a pretty good successful stint at blogging. From what I know, you were paid to travel and write.
Yeah, so I tried, after I sold those preschools, I had a little bit of money put away, and I was like, well, I'm going to take a few years off, maybe retire and just invest my money. And 2 weeks later, I was like, okay, this is really boring. I was only like 37, and I started to blog and I started to travel. And because I was traveling, I started writing, and I've always had an interest in writing and photography. Mm-hmm. And I pretty quickly made some connections with a person who was starting up a social media network called Veritro Social. And the person's name is Ayman Hariri. He's a well-known entrepreneur. And, I kind of reached out to him and I told him all the things that were broken on the network and how to fix them. Mm-hmm. I figured out his email based on other people's emails, and he kind of emailed me back and he's like, who are you? And I'm like, well, I'm Victoria and I'm going to fix everything for you, right? It's such an entrepreneur thing to do. It's so like, it's so irrational, but he liked it. And he said, well, you could help us and we'll pay for your travel and you can do your thing and you can help us build up a network. I was like, okay.
Hold on right there. So you basically found this entrepreneur, you looked into his social media accounts, you found some problems there. You Googled him or did whatever you had to do, found his email and sent a cold email saying, you may not know me, but I can fix it for you. And he actually agreed to do that.
Well, it didn't say. So I joined the network, which I really liked because it went viral. So I joined it. And then I kind of made contact with him. I think he followed me at some point. And then I kind of looked through it and I was like, there was issues on the network. And I wrote him an email, like explaining everything that I thought was wrong with it. I didn't say I could fix it. I just said, these are things you should fix so that I could use it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then he was like, oh, okay. Thanks. And yeah, so it was basically a cold email. I mean, he was following me by that point, but we didn't have any.
You haven't talked to him before, nothing. Awesome. Yeah. And that's always how it is. We provide value in advance. And we see that all the time, right? People saying, hey, pay me $1,000, I'll get you to first page of Google. Who are you? I don't know you, right? Versus providing value. You see it. Awesome.
Yeah, it's true. I certainly wasn't looking for a job or anything. I just thought that I could help him, and like, why not? He's trying to do something good, and he seemed like a nice person. They were all nice people. All the founders seemed very nice. So I was like, I'll just help them out.
Right. And so then you got into a gig where, how many months or years, and where all have you traveled and they paid for it? And what did you live in good hotels, or were you like somebody's home? Like, give me where were you? How was the experience like? I haven't been paid to travel, so I'm really, really curious.
So it wasn't like luxury or anything. They gave me a fixed kind of stipend, monthly stipend. And that was fine, because I actually think when you travel, if you're traveling luxury, you're going to have much less interesting experiences than if you're traveling really low end. Not that I was traveling that low end, but I think that you grow when you're out of your comfort zone. And if you're traveling in luxury, you're really never going to be out of your comfort zone. You're really going from one 5-star hotel to another. Nothing uncomfortable about that, right? But if you're going to a hostel, you're going to be a very different person based on who you meet, based on interactions, both positive and negative, and your experiences. So although I did some incredible things with the money they gave me, like I attended Carnival in Brazil, I've done, really interesting tours and rides and stuff. I never spent a lot of money in hotels. And that was great. That was really fun. And it was really interesting. It was a great experience. But by the time COVID happened, I kind of was getting a little bit burned out because I was traveling 1 week a month, and then I would home for 3 weeks a month. And I was flying all over the world, and I was spending so much time in an airplane that the people at customs at JFK recognized me. So I would fly and they would say, "Hey, Victoria," like it got to that point. Can you imagine how many people they see that they were starting to recognize me? It was crazy. And I was like, yeah, I think I'm getting burned out here. But it was an incredible experience that was just, very, very
a good portion of your life, a good way it lasted.
Yes. I don't know that I will ever travel that much again, but it certainly was a valuable experience. I think you get changed even by a couple of days of good trip. You really do. You become a different person.
You made a great point. Traveling in luxury, you really don't become one, like you said, you don't become uncomfortable, so you grow as a person. Two, you may not meet the locals there. You're probably meeting all the other luxury travelers there. But you have traveled to quite a few countries now and doing what you do and writing the blog. And the blog is so that blog then grew into a Facebook group, right?
Yeah, there's a big Facebook group with it. The blog is pretty big. I think it's something like 25,000 visitors a month.
Wow.
And when we're talking, basically, people are not traveling as much right now. So yeah, it's a pretty good blog. Wow. It needs to be updated because I'm not traveling as much, but yeah.
No, now that you got the SEO skills, you can look into doing a lot with that.
Yeah. I can. I just need the time. You know how it is. You can do anything. You just need the time for it.
Okay. All right. So March 2020 comes around. COVID hits. The whole world the travel industry is the hardest hit.
Oh, right? Yeah.
And so when did you start looking? How did you start looking to do something else? And how did you stumble upon online marketing?
So I was in this Facebook group with a couple of, bunch of other travel bloggers. And I see them posting, and they're posting things like, it'll come back, give it a week, give it 2 weeks. And I just remember this moment of reading it and being like, these people are they're not comprehending reality. They are living in a world they want to be in, not in the real world. And I was like, I cannot wait around and be unrealistic. I have to be realistic. Like, this is the situation. I'm not going back to traveling for a long time. Mm-hmm. What am I going to do now? And I think that's a really important part of the entrepreneurship process, to recognize where you're right now, whether you like it or you don't like it, whatever your situation is, and say, now what? What next? And so at the time, there was nowhere to go to work, right? There was nobody hiring. The market was in the dumps. There was no real money, easy money to be made. And I literally I had followed you from I think January, because I think there was an ad or something. And I just followed you and I literally started looking on Facebook to different opportunities, work opportunities. And I don't even remember exactly how I came across from you, but I was like, this looks good. It's not expensive. What's the worst thing? And like I said, I read the PDF, so I already knew you were providing value. I was like, what's the worst thing that could happen?
Yeah, I remember when you got started, I think one of your first questions was, how many months before I can make 10,000 a month?
Something like I did. I emailed you because your process at the time was first figure out what your number is. And I was like, well, I guess I could live on 10,000 a month if I really had to. And I emailed you and I was like, do you think that's realistic? And you're like, yeah, that's realistic. And I was thinking she's not telling what I want to hear. And then and then that ended up being very realistic.
You probably make a lot more than 10,000 a week now, for sure.
I do okay.
Yeah, awesome. So you get started, and I remember the first few weeks, if not 2-3 months, you were there for every coaching call live, right? Every Thursday. You would ask questions, and you brought some fun. It's not that before you the group was boring, but there was more fun with you, right? Because now you're asking questions and laughing, and the guys were like, "All right, there's the girls finally in the group, right?"
I take things very seriously. I'm a very intense person. So this is the way I think about it. Look, if you're gonna do something, either you have to do it, and I tell this to my employees all the time. I'm like, if it's worth doing, it is worth doing in a way that you are the best. Otherwise, just don't bother. And you have to try to get everything, especially if you paid money for a course, right? You have to try to get everything out of it, every little drop of information. And so that was what I did. I didn't go buy in 3 different courses. I only bought yours. And so I really went at it. And I think that's a really important thing is you have to do everything you possibly can.
That is so true. What you just told, I don't know if a lot of people will get that because information is available. You have a cable connection, an internet connection, information is available. But education, that comes when you interact with somebody. You learn something, you do it, you fail, you find out why, and then you do it, and then you move on. And that's what I saw you, because you would come every week and say, wait, I did this and this and this, and I thought this will happen, but this happened. And like probably very few people, maybe half a dozen students in the group were like as intense as you when you got started.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I remember that.
And you were really good with constantly responding. I remember I wrote you I would write you like your wife at some point. I think I was literally taking up more time than your family because it was like every 10 minutes I was like, oh, I'm sorry, one more question. And you were really, really good with, there's a question, here's an answer, question, answer. And I think even on the weekends you were responding. So you made it really easy to really jump into it, learn what was working for me, learn what was not working for me, which is even more important, and find the business model that was working for me because you were such a hands-on teacher. And that's to your credit, because knowing what I know now, there is a lot of people out there who sell courses, and there's not as many who are as hands-on in terms of teaching as you are. Really, there isn't.
No, thank you. And to that point, yes, I agree. And I also see I have 5,000 people now in my free Facebook group, about 400 students in my course. Most people, fortunately or unfortunately, they just want to be told, like I get messages every day. I did this and this, it's not working. What do I do? Yeah. Like, whereas I remember you're right. You would send me an email, and then you would send me a Facebook message, and then you'd be like, can I talk to you? Right. But you were not like, what do I do? You were always like, I did this, and I saw this. And like, I did this PBN backlink, I did this anchor text, and this has happened. It's only ranking for one keyword, not multiple. Like you were doing, so it was easy for me to tell you because you had done the stuff. Instead of, it was more like I was telling you how to think than just to go fish, right?
Right.
How to do it too.
When I was a little girl, a friend of mine told me, don't be too lazy to think. And I think that I really internalized that. You have to try to solve the problem yourself. And then when you try to really think about it, really have, give yourself a little space, and then you can have really good questions. And the teacher can help you much more if you have good questions than if you have bad questions.
That is awesome.
And having good questions is really important.
That is so true. I would say good questions, but also more pointed questions. Like general questions will give you a general answer. Like if somebody asked me, can I rank this? I would say, yeah. Like with time and enough money, you can rank for that toughest keyword, right? But if you ask a pointed question on, okay, I did this, and this, I want to get to here, I'm not there yet. Why? Then we can look into that. Right?
Yeah.
So let's go back. How did you land your first client? Because I still remember that, but I want to hear from you. Like your first, I think it was a lawyer client.
Yes.
Right?
My first client was a lawyer.
Most people start with the gardener as a client, and you go for the lawyer. And I'm like, whoa, all right. Okay, go give me some background on that.
Right. So at the time, again, the economy was in the dumps. I had tried the rank and rent model, and I had spoken with some plumbers and some tree cutters, and I was like, I'm just not making a connection with these people. And they're lovely people. I was just, I didn't feel like I was on the same wavelength. And if you're going to sell to somebody, you have to feel like you're, like you can relate to them. So what I did was, because I really wasn't making a connection with the plumbers and the tree people, I posted on Facebook group and I said, look, I'm offering free SEO, like that wasn't service, but like assessment. I don't remember exactly what I said. And my group, obviously my Facebook people, who know me, they're going to be on my level because they're my friends. By definition, we're going to be on the same level. And one of the girls was like, oh, I just noticed somebody was looking for an SEO. Do you want me to get you in touch with her? And I was like, sure. And I was like, what is she? She goes, she's a lawyer. I'm like, okay. And so I kind of fell into it. But at the same time, I also remember thinking, okay, the economy is in the toilet. What's a good field? I was thinking doctors and lawyers. Those were two fields that I was really thinking about, but I don't know anything about being a doctor, but I do have a background as a paralegal. So it was a little bit of a happy accident, but, and then I speak with this girl and she's still my client to this day. And I basically said, I'll build your site. I'll write you text. I'll do everything. And I charged her a very small amount. And I think I actually posted in the group. And I think in the end, for that first month, I definitely made less than minimum wage, like no question about it. But it's almost like having an internship when you come in and you are learning so much. And yes, maybe you're getting a little compensation, but it's not really about that, And so what
you learn initially than what you earn, especially your first couple of clients.
Oh, absolutely. That is completely true. I would say for me, what really helped me propel me quickly was specialization. Everybody kind of got to know me as the lawyer girl, right? The lawyer SEO. And that was kind of a really good field for me to go into. But I also had multiple people go to me and say, can you help me with this eyeglass store? Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? And sometimes I would help them, but I wouldn't put that in anywhere. Because I didn't want people to start getting confused. People need simplicity. They like simplicity. They like to put you into a box. So I think finding a niche where you really like the client and you kind of feel like you're on the same level as them, then that really helps with growth quickly.
No, you threw so much in this last 2 minutes. I just wish people who would listen to this would understand, because I started with the tree guy. Right. I connected with the tree guy. I still connect with contractors. Right. But I also do personal injury lawyers. Right. You have to come with what you relate to. That is so important. I see people all the time always saying, this is not happening. That's not happening. And then they're like, what do I do? I'm like, you need to figure out this. It's not just about backlinks. Right. You're so right. Your personality, are you good on the phone? Is SEO good for you? Like in your case, you tried rank and brand? Nope. I'm more of an aggressive person. I can do sales. I can do lawyers. Okay, lawyer SEO, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Because I still remember you sent me the URL of the client and I asked you to take a look. Do you still have the client by any chance?
Oh yeah. Absolutely. And she sent me, and she's helped me for many times in the future. I attend her anniversary parties. Like exactly. We have a relationship.
Awesome.
And she still gets a really good rate, because she's somebody who helped me out in the beginning. So now I help her out.
And she's probably making 5x, maybe 10x from the work you're doing.
No question about it. She's one of the top people in New York City. There's no question about it. Yeah. Yeah. But I think it's just important. The other really important concept is when you throw everything you have at an idea, you can very quickly figure out if it's working for you, right? I didn't sit around for months trying to figure out if Rank and Rent was going to work. I went in all the way. I did everything in the course, and I very quickly figured out I wasn't feeling it. Like it wasn't for me. And then I just as quickly made a switch. So you can't sit there. Right. I find sometimes people are not willing to kind of say, you know what, this is not working for me. Either they don't put everything they can, and then they say it's not working. Maybe when they did it halfway, of course, you didn't really try that hard. Right. Or they just keep going and going and going. Even after they realize it's not working, it's like an escalation of commitment. I think you have to kind of fail quick.
Fail quick. You'll be surprised, Victoria. There are people for 3 months, they're still figuring out what niche to get into.
Right. I remember there were some people who joined with me, and I think they're still...
And then they would go, let me do Facebook ads, let me do this, let me do drop shipping, and then they come back to SEO again.
Yeah.
And nothing wrong. I've been all over the place too, but at one point of time, you have to be like, okay, from where I am in life, where I want to go in life, I need to figure out one thing and get good at it, right?
Well, that was one of the first things you said in your course. And that's one thing that really stuck with me. Take one thing and do just that for 90 days. And that was really good. I didn't end up doing Rank and Rent for 90 days, but when I was doing it 18 hours a day. And that was really, really good, because you can get really good at something and figure it out if it's for you. And don't be afraid to fail,
Failure is normal. Module, the 90-91 method that I show, I've gotten a lot of people. I probably think a lot more people have reached out to me and said that one module impacted them than any ninja PBN backlink strategy.
It's true because it's like it says behind you, mindset is everything. And that gives you the mindset, gives you permission not to multitask. And I think it's very important to get that permission because we're so bombarded by different ideas and different types of marketing. And you were just told, okay, just do one thing, just one. And that permission is, I think, really, really valuable.
Because the momentum builds upon it. The first day you start something, it's new to you, but second day, third day, fourth day, by the time the 90th day comes around, you are so far ahead of so many more people.
Oh, yeah.
Compared to if you had the first day looked into SEO, second day looked into dropshipping, third week looked into something else, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of distractions, in this industry too. People get distracted.
Yeah. Let's keep moving on. I'm curious because I remember you got your first client. You are so new to SEO, but then you got like 5, 6, 7 clients the next 1, 2, 3 months, maybe less. So you scaled up fast.
It wasn't quite that fast. That was a few months I worked with just one client. And then when I scaled, it was because that one client kept giving me references. Mm-hmm. So everybody who come to me and be like, can you help me? I'd be like, yes, I already helped this girl. Talk to her. And she was, of course, my biggest cheerleader. So she helped me close a whole, and she's very, very outgoing, very bubbly personality, like the kind of person you like to talk to. So she helped me score other clients. And that happened relatively quickly. Yeah.
So this, even though she's paying you very, very little because she was the first client, she probably sent you half a dozen clients now.
She has sent me several clients, but more importantly, she's helped me close clients that I've found. Yeah. And I think that, I think the first client really is sort of like your showcase client. And I've talked about this before. It should be the client that you want to be in the industry. You want to work with these kind of people, right? You have to like your clients and you can use them for references and you can make them almost like a case study. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Ironically enough, after I started with her, I actually had people reach out to me from the medical field. And I chose not to take those jobs because I had a feeling that if I was going to try to do law and I was going to try to medical, I was going to do both badly. Right. So I just didn't have enough information at that point. And I don't believe I still do. So yeah, you have to focus.
Yeah, that's something I learned. I still don't do it the right. I still don't maximize that case studies and testimonies and all that. Because sometimes it's so focused on in the business and, what am I going to do next? And my team coming up and all that now that sometimes, but that's so true. Great point. So you started getting referrals. Mm-hmm. And then as you started getting 3, 4, 5, 6 clients, did you then start hiring a VA? Did you start building an in-house team? Like, how did you start putting processes and systems in place? What did you do to be able to maintain more quantity with the same quality?
Well, I started making friends, actually. That's the first thing I started doing. So one of the guys from your group, Nathan Smith, we're like, SEO buddies, we started talking very early on after I joined your group. And we do a lot of back and forth. We help each other out. We give each other ideas. We test things together. So that's actually the next thing that I did. I made friends with a lot of people in the industry and I started asking them for advice. And so, just like you, I would kind of be very persistent. And then once I kind of had a good idea, in order to continue to scale, I hired a VA, then I hired another VA, then I hired a web developer. So I kept hiring people, but I'm very, very, very strict with people I hire. My employees make fun of me because I'll hire somebody and I'll fire them the next day, like all the time, because you have to be an A player. I don't want 3 VAs. I want one great one. And I don't mind paying them the way a great VA should get paid rather than have 3 mediocre people. So that's definitely a big part of strategy. Hire great people. Don't be afraid to fire people who are not fitting in. And right now I have 5 employees. 1 is web designer and 4 VAs. And we're running a pretty decent sized agency with only 6 people. And I have a couple of writers too, of course, but they're not full-time.
That's awesome. Right. Do you do any paid ads to get new clients? What other client outreach do you do? Do you just still depend only on referrals, or do you do anything else?
So we've done LinkedIn. I've talked to you about this system.
Yeah.
So I connect to somebody on LinkedIn. I have a pretty good LinkedIn profile with some interviews and things that I've done. And I get in touch with them and I say, hey, I found a few errors or a few things on your sites. Can I send you a free video that will show you how you can fix it? And what I do is it's not a sales video. It's actually a video where I try to be helpful. And I try to say, look, if you go into your Google My Business listing and you change your category right there, that will help you. If you add an alt tag here, that will help you. And I show them how to do it. And usually by the time I'm done, a good portion of them are like, you know what, this seems like a lot of work. How about I just hire you to do it? And I have the situation all the time when somebody emails and says, well, I already work with an agency. And I say, great, I will send you a video that explains to you what they could be doing better. And you go to them with this video and you show it to them and you make sure they're delivering you the work you're paying for. Yeah. And usually by, in a few weeks, they come back. They're like, they said they can't do it. I said, well, I can do it.
That's one strategy. We show that and I do that all the time. It works. Like to the point now I have a full-time VA in the Philippines. Mm-hmm. She's been trained to do these SEO audit videos and she's good at, her background is phone calls. So she would do that. So she's doing an autopilot. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's a great system because you're providing real value and you're establishing real connections. And even if somebody doesn't buy from you today, that's okay. Exactly. Because when they decide to switch, you're going to be the first person they think about. Absolutely. And it's not, you can't just be like, okay, this is about me making X amount of dollars. You have to try to be helpful.
Yes.
And that's when the money just kind of comes.
And unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand that or do that. A lot of people are like, how can I make the money now? How much money can I, especially when you say a lawyer client, they're like salivating. How much money can I make out of this lawyer?
Yeah.
Get the customer, what value can you provide?
Yeah, exactly. The lawyers are people too that have mortgages and kids and college tuition, so you have to be kind to people and try to help them.
Awesome. Now, I know you follow the process we have in the course, the whole process, but I want to get into PBNs a little bit. Do you use a lot of PBNs? Do you do anything different with PBNs now? I'm sure in the last year and a half, you probably learned a lot about a lot of other things in SEO also. So just curious about PBNs and anything else that you might be doing that I don't do or I don't teach or anything like that?
Yeah, so I do build out my own because I specialize in an industry. I'm able to build out topic relevant PBNs, right? So I build out one for personal, I build for bankruptcy, for estate, and I build out lots of general law. And I do very similar to what you do. I find a domain, I get good backlinks. I put up content. I use Autopilot, which is a software that helps you create backlinks. I use Google News. You take a PBN, you create a news site, you can add it to Google News, and that's free traffic. And Holly just posted some really cool stuff about Google News as well that she's using. I do build up high quality PBNs, and instead of like sending a bunch of little bad links, I do use what is it called? Scrapebox to find expired domains. Yeah. And so those expired domains we check, we see what kind of value they have, and then we might buy them and use them.
Good. Awesome. Yeah. I'm so happy for you, really, because I see you posting all the time. A lot of people in this industry, they make money. A lot of people don't make money, but there are very few people who have a good balance of making money and having fun, enjoying life, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the, go ahead.
No. Yeah, I was going to say it's a little bit tough right now because I'm working so much.
No, because I see that, because I interact with a lot of people. Me, myself, I could double and triple and 10x if I want to, right? Anybody could do that. But then there's a point in time where like, I really want, I always want more money, don't get me wrong, but I'm happy here. And when I'm spending some time with my kids, my family, my health, and whatever I want to do. That's why the reason we want to leave our job and get into SEO is of course to have a balance of time and money, not just money. Unfortunately, I see a lot of people, again, it depends for them. Maybe being a workaholic is probably their thing, but a lot of people forget the little things in life. And so when you post those little things with you were out yesterday with the 11-year-old. Was that your son or daughter? Or
My son, yeah.
right? And then you're like, I may not comment or like every, but I see every picture because you're like, my Halloween costume is I'm the mother who doesn't murder my kids or something like that. You are right.
It's such a good point because the thing about SEO is if you're good at it, you can make a full-time income without working crazy hours. Of course, then we all end up working crazy hours because we always want more, right? Yeah. But that's not really necessary. You can make a very nice income having 10 great clients, absolutely, spending your time learning and not driving yourself crazy. Mm-hmm. Having said that, we'll end up working, 20 hours a day because, one more client, one more set of commission or whatever, one more set of a couple of $1,000. Exactly. But there is a lot of flexibility in this industry. And I'm actually surprised that there's so much opportunity and not a lot of people know about it, right?
So much opportunity. And the reason a lot people may also know there's opportunities, that people are not focused, And that's what I was into SEO, and initial years I was into Facebook ads and this and that. I even did print. Like I would tell my clients, I'll print business cards for you and make like a $3 profit. I would do everything. But then there's a point in time I'm like, forget it, right? I just want to get good at something, and I decided it's going to be organic traffic, rank and rent in my case, or SEO. Right. And when you do that, the momentum builds up and you grow so much faster.
It's very true. I think focus is because there's so much opportunity, you almost end up losing focus because you want to do everything. But I think the faster you can focus, the faster you can make money. But that's with a caveat that you're focusing on things that really work well with your personality.
Exactly.
I think if I was struggling to work with plumbers with a rank and rent model, I'd be struggling to this day, because it just wasn't a good personality fit.
It's a great point. Awesome. We're coming to the end. I just want to say, what's next for you? Where do you see yourself next year, in the future? In terms of finances, in terms of business growth, in terms of personal, anything at all?
It's a good question. I'm actually struggling with that question right now because what I'm doing right now, I'm doing well financially. I could stay where I am and I could be very comfortable. Or I could grow significantly. And I really don't know what I want to do. I even have an idea for a startup, and I really don't know if I want to do that either. But it would be in the same internet marketing field, and that could be something that could be huge. Do I want it? You know what I mean? Do I need the headache? So it's a little bit hard to say. It's easier, in a way it's easier when you're struggling, right? Because you need bills to pay, you have to work. But when you get to the point where you're a little bit comfortable, you're like, how do I want to work this from here? And like you said, there is a question of work-life balance, So I don't know to answer your question, but I think if you asked me that question last year, I would never have guessed that I'd be where I am now. So it's life, right?
And you're very, very transparent because a lot of people would have probably been like, oh, now I'm looking to get a 10 million. Now I'm looking, and here you're like, I'll be honest, I'm a regular person. I'm still struggling with that. Transparency is so awesome, really. I think this is just my personal opinion. With your background and passion in writing, and now your SEO skills, and you love traveling, you should do something around that, writing and traveling and SEO. I don't know,
Maybe we'll see. Take it day by day, kind of try to not spread myself too thin, we'll see.
Awesome. No, thanks. I think it's almost more than half an hour. I love this time. Thank you so much. Any parting tips for anybody in the industry? Any words of wisdom, anything at all?
I think just what I said, find something that you enjoy doing. And, you don't have to enjoy every moment of it, but enjoy it in the general, like your clients. Like the job, you have to learn constantly. You can't just buy one course and be done. We're talking constant learning. If you're doing SEO, if you're spending less than 10 hours a week learning, you're not an SEO. You're just not. You're just a guy or girl who just got a course. Constantly learning, grow, stick with one thing. And if it doesn't work, then we'll switch into something else. But stick with that one thing. At least make sure that you give it a chance. And have fun.
Yeah. Awesome. We should Meet up sometime. I know we've always been in this virtual world, right? So
Yeah, anytime you're in New York City.
yeah, I know. I was about to anytime you're in Detroit Metro, but I doubt you're able to come to Detroit Metro.
No, I've flown over it though.
Oh, right, yeah. Anytime you're in Canada, I'm like just half an hour from the Canadian border. So,
Oh, that's great.
so awesome. Thank
All
you,
right.
Victoria. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for your
All
time.
right, Sir Evan. All right. See you soon.
Yeah.
Bye.